Ambassador, the facts are clear. Thousands of people have been killed in this war so far. 14 million people have had to leave their homes since Russia decided to invade Ukraine. Why did Russia start this war?
This is not a war. This is a limited operation. And I have to say the reasoning, which probably is not popular here in media in Great Britain, because you are presenting only one side of the story, and I have now to speak about the other side of the story, and I would appreciate very much that it will be heard. So by now events are going on in the east, southeast of Ukraine, and this is clear that during 8 years after nationalistic government has come to power in Kiev, they have built a fortress over there, a fortress in which best of Ukrainian forces are now concentrated. And this is a highly fortified area, region, which is along the line of delimitation of Donbass, from which we are certain events could be started, whether it will be used by Ukrainian army as defensive, or we have got quite a lot of evidences that they were planning offensive against Donbass region, against Russians living over there. And just to prevent this attack, which will be applauded, I will sure, because in the Western countries, because they are acting on their own territory. So we have to take preventive forces. As President Putin has said, we have had no other way but to do this.
First of all, thousands of people dying and 14 million people having to leave their homes does not suggest it's a limited military operation. It is a full-scale war. And there is absolutely no evidence that the Ukrainian forces were launching some kind of huge attack in the Donbass region. That's not there. The evidence isn't there.
Okay. Once again, it is for 8 years, Ukrainian forces were shelling Donbass, Russian people, civilians mainly. They killed quite a lot of them. Young children were born and then even raised, has gone to school under Ukrainian shelling of it. We have made many attempts to pacify the situation, also via Minsk agreements.
According to the UN Human Rights Commissioner, more civilians have been killed in the conflict since Russia invaded in February than in the last 8 years. Where is the evidence that Russian-speaking Ukrainians were under threat? That evidence isn't there.
No, probably you haven't heard what I have said. How many people have been killed?
I've heard what you said.
How many people have been killed? And I can assure you that it is not our idea to kill civilians. Our militaries, they are targeting only military infrastructure, because military infrastructure in Ukraine remained after the Soviet Union. It is the biggest one. We would like to diminish Ukrainian capabilities for striking, first of all, and we need to help these two now independent republics to survive. And it is more than 4 million of people. It's quite a lot of people over there.
You're saying you want to help the people in the East survive. The evidence suggests that there's been widespread devastation as a result of Russian attacks. And there's currently a huge bombardment, Russian bombardment, in that part of the country, in the East. Is your aim to take and keep that part of the country?
Our aim, as it has been formulated, is to help now to these republics to survive. But be sure that we are going to assist and to help of rebuilding of that. We have no other mean at the moment, because the fortress, the Ukrainian troops, they are taking the civilian targets, they are using the buildings to put artillery in it and tanks underneath. So they are mainly hiding among the buildings in the settlements, in the villages and small towns. It's a very difficult job for our professional forces to seize this building one by one. After that,
have you given up on Kiev and focusing your war in the East?
It's a good question. None of our leaders, neither president or the others, has ever said that we would like to seize Kiev. And I don't believe that it is possible to seize Kiev or to occupy Kiev. It's a big city. It will be linked.
You did have troops. You did have troops on the way to Kiev. I was there at the time.
Yes, we did have troops, but not for Caesar of Kiev.
So why were they there?
I'm not a military person. I'm a diplomat for 40 years. But even I do understand if you would like to do something, then on one front, then you have to do some different things on the other front, just to stretch.
Okay, so you have given up on
Just
Kyiv.
to
There will be
stretch.
no attacks on the capital.
We didn't have a goal of seizing Kyiv at the initial stage of the operation, and I don't believe that that's a possibility.
Okay. You've talked about Russian forces not targeting civilian areas. You've talked about them being professional and waging this war in a professional manner. I'd like you to have a look at the CCTV footage here, which shows 2 Russian soldiers at a building in Ukraine taking aim at 2 civilians walking away from them.
No,
They're walking away.
If I had, what iPad, I could also. If I had iPad, I would be eager to show you that every day Ukrainian forces are shelling innocent civilians in Donbass cities, towns, and villages, and we have.
These men, sir, are walking away from the soldiers.
Yeah.
You can see it there. They are shot and they are killed. Is this how Russia is conducting this war?
I cannot tell whether there's Russian soldiers or who else.
They are
soldiers.
absolutely Russian soldiers. It has been verified, sir.
Is it a
It's
film?
been verified. They are Russian soldiers.
This is non-conversation. Non-conversation. You are showing me something, probably a piece of a film, or a piece of a game, or a joke, or whatever, it's computer games, and telling me, let's see what it is.
CCTV footage
Great.
from a building that has been corroborated. The 2 soldiers took aim at 2 people walking away from them and shot them dead. They then went into the building, and the CCTV shows them taking off their uniforms, wiping down the sweat from underneath their arms, and taking drinks that were in the building and looting food.
Once again,
is that how Russian troops
are we having an interview with you, or you would like to express your ideas? Please.
I have expressed the question, which is that how Russian troops are conducting this war?
No, you did express your point of view. I did express my point of view, and I can assure you that I pursue very attentively what's going on in the east of Ukraine.
Okay. Let's go to the town of Bucha, which has become synonymous around the world with the crimes that many people point to of the Russian military. Can you explain why civilians have been shot in cold blood in the streets of Bucha? And these are photographs that suggest exactly what happened, sir. This photograph on the left was taken in late February when before Russian troops entered the town. This photograph here is on the 19th of March, after Russian troops were just after Russian troops were about to leave. And that is the result. Dead bodies in the street. Again, sir, I'll ask you one more time. Is this how Russian troops are supposed to conduct this war? Because the evidence suggests that they're committing war crimes, sir.
If you are really interested in this issue, then you should understand that after Russian troops has left Bucha, for 3 days, no one has found any troops, any bodies on the streets. And there are a lot of evidence of that. After 3 days, someone has come and discovered some bodies. Besides, can you imagine that professional troops, as Russian troops, they will step over the bodies of someone during weeks and just leaving them behind? For what? For next provocation, just to be done by someone is coming. I cannot believe it, frankly speaking. This is very unprofessional.
The BBC has verified the footage, and I have been to Bucha.
I have seen the verification.
I have spoken to some of the residents, local people, who heard the gunshots, and they corroborate each other's story independently. And I went to Yablunska Street, and I spoke to people in the neighboring street, and they heard the gunshots in a nearby school, in a couple of other buildings, and in Yablunska Street, which is where these pictures come from. Sir, again, Why is Russia conducting this war in this way,
The
committing war
mayor
crimes?
of Bucha, in his initial statement, when it has been freed, has confirmed that Russian troops have left. Everything is clean and calm. The town or village, this is town, yes, in a state, in a normal state. Nothing is happening. No bodies are on the street. But next, after it has been done. But anyway.
So this is all made up, sir? This is all a fabrication? All this evidence is a fabrication?
In our view, it is a fabrication. It is now why it is used just to interrupt negotiations. There were, at the beginning of the conflict, we have had a very good negotiations start. And Ukrainian, they have had a constructive position. But then something changed. Someone has decided to use this incident to cut off negotiations. Since that time, unfortunately, it's a stalemate. It is for about a month that the draft agreement that has been based on Ukrainian proposition is lying in Kiev. And we have a prolongation of war. And what we have from London, it is not the desire to finalize it or to negotiate it. We hear every day new appeals to send more weapons to Ukraine, to fight until the last Ukrainian soldier, to continue the conflict, and no negotiator until Russia will be beaten.
You say everything I've shown you is a fabrication. Bucha, the pictures, it's a fabrication. You don't believe it, it's not true. Is this a fabrication, sir? This is the city of Mariupol, completely devastated.
Don't worry about Mariupol. We have already
Many
installed.
people are worrying about Mariupol.
Are you going to listen
sir?
to me, or are you going to talk yourself? If you will continue to talk, then it is over. We can finish on that point.
What's your view of Mariupol then, sir? Tell me.
We have established a governmental commission which is going to rebuild Mariupol totally. We will provide for this necessary financial resources for rebuilding of it, and believe me, it will be done.
We can see from the pictures, these are residential areas, sir. Residential areas that have been
residential
bombed
houses. We
to
have
hell.
lots of experiences.
Complete devastation, sir. These are residential areas. These are not legitimate military targets.
We have a lot of registered cases when
This is over a
Ukraine
widespread area.
when Ukraine artillery was shelling residential areas, especially in
This is a war crime,
and,
sir, isn't it? This is a war
As
crime.
I have told you, we have lots of evidence when Ukraine artillery deliberately was shelling this, what you are showing to me.
So this is the result of Ukrainian artillery, is that what you're saying?
It might be a result. I
It might be.
speak about.
So the Ukrainian government has decided to completely flatten one of its own cities and leave this kind of devastation.
Mariupol has a long history, and I remember that in 2014, the inhabitants of Mariupol, they have voted at the referendum just to get out of Ukraine. But after that, pretty quickly, Ukrainian forces has restored over there their power, and those who has voted for that or who has activated for that, they have been seized and taken to some place.
I've tried to provide.
Mariupol is a part of Donetsk Republic.
Of what is happening, and you won't accept this clear evidence that I've offered today.
I do accept that Mariupol is destroyed by fighting.
But you won't accept that it's the result of Russian forces.
No, it can be both, because this is a fight. This is fight.
So there is a possibility in your mind that Russia is responsible for all this. That is a possibility, sir.
As I have said, Russians are targeting military infrastructure. Collateral damage is possible. I used to work on NATO for many years, and I was explained several times that collateral damage happens all the time if in the conflicts.
That's collateral damage. That's what you think. That could be collateral damage. Okay, I mean, as I say, you won't accept any of the evidence that I've put forward that Russia may be responsible or is responsible, and that Russia, frankly, has committed war crimes. But other Russian officials know what is going on. Let me just read to you what Russia's counselor to the United Nations in Geneva, Boris Bondarev, said this week after resigning his position. He said, "The aggressive war unleashed by Putin against Ukraine is not only a crime against the Ukrainian people, but also perhaps the most serious crime against the people of Russia." What do you think he means when he says this is a crime against the Russian people?
We know this guy. He is very unprofessional. Well, we have, of course, people who think differently. He is one of them. That's all right. But I can say you that 75% of the Russian population do support
But
the
he
limited
is a
operation.
senior official in the Russian
I
delegation
wouldn't say
at the
so.
United Nations.
We know the guy. He is, yes, he stayed for some time at the ministry. He used to work over there, but he did not have our respect. Not before and not after this statement.
He doesn't have your respect. He doesn't have your respect. For
Any
what
other
he
question,
said.
Clive, excuse me.
He doesn't have your respect.
Do you have any other questions?
I do, sir. I do. It must have taken a lot of courage on his part to say those things,
It is
don't
up
you
to
think?
him. He has done it, and let it be like that.
You are not in any way willing to echo his words, given everything that I've shown you today.
In no way, absolutely.
He's deluded. He's stupid. Just doesn't understand what's going on.
It depends on him and on his motivation. Perhaps he would like to work for UK, so let him do this.
I wonder, actually, are you too afraid to echo his words?
Me? In no way. Absolutely. Clive, as I have been shown what you would like to ask me, it was totally different issues. If you are only interested to provoke me to something or
I'm genuinely not here
to
to provoke you,
discuss
sir. I'm genuinely not here to provoke
it is not about that.
I'm simply
then
putting
it will be our last
points of view. I'm simply putting other points
can
of
finish
view.
on this
I mean, there is the suggestion from our Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, that this war will not end until Vladimir Putin and Russian forces, his forces, leave Ukraine in its
She's
entirety.
very belligerent. Your Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Liz Truss, she is neither a professional military man or she's not for a long time at this position, but she is very belligerent. If she would like to continue the war, she will prolongate the conflict, and it is up to her, of course, to make this statement or to make these deeds. But it will be no good for Ukraine. It will be no good for the European peace and stability and Europe itself. We took note very much of this position, of course, and on the position that UK would like to supply more and more arms, not to think about the future of Ukraine or of Europe, not to think about what's going to happen after that with Ukrainian people, but just to instigate the conflict. Why this? What's the motivation for that? To make Russia more feeble. It's an illusion, as recent 3 months after sanctions has been imposed has shown. Our economy has been not toppled down. Inflation rate will be in Russia this year about 15%. In the UK, it's about 10 to 12%. It's not a big difference, of course, after all these sanctions. What's the use of that? For UK, where is the profit? Where is the benefit of UK?
Well, threats have been made towards the West as a result of Vladimir Putin's invasion. Dmitry Kiselyov, who runs Russia one of the largest TV stations in the country, he said on air recently that one Russian nuclear missile could plunge Britain into the depths of the sea and turn whatever may be left of them into a radioactive desert. Do you believe President Putin would be willing to launch a nuclear attack on Britain?
No, I don't believe that. Dmitry Kiselyov, he's a journalist. He is like you, is trying to find something juicy and to put it on the television and to make it loud statement about that. He's done it, like you also tried to instigate me to.
Do you believe then?
But it instigated a discussion.
Okay.
It instigated a discussion and provoked a discussion.
You say that there will not be a nuclear attack on the UK. Do you believe that there could be the use of a tactical nuclear weapon in the war in Ukraine?
No. Tactical nuclear weapon, in accordance with the Russian military doctrine, is not used in conflicts like that at all.
So you do not believe that will happen?
I don't think
Can
so.
you categorically say it will not happen?
We have a very strict provision on the issues of the use of tactical nuclear weapon, and it is mainly when the existence of the state is endangered. It has nothing to do with the current operation over there.
But wasn't that the reasoning for going into Ukraine in the first place? That
What?
you said to me at the beginning of this conversation that the suggestion was that Ukraine was building up its forces to launch an attack in the east.
Yes, yes, and we will deal it with conventional operation, limited conventional operation. Perhaps you have noticed that we do not increase the number of our forces over there. We believe that it is sufficient to deal with the situation.
Can I ask you about the president himself, President Putin? I mean, there's
I
been
will
a lot
not
of
comment on the President Putin.
lot of speculation about his health. You've got
Not
no
at all.
comment on that.
I have no idea, and I am not speculating about the authorities.
Okay, I fully understand that. I mean, we've heard everything you've said today.
Okay.
You've refuted all the evidence that I've put forward, that you've been able to see with your own eyes.
If
and
it
the
is,
whole of the rest of the
once
world
again,
has
I'm
seen.
convinced that UK is not interested in the end state or what's going on over there. But it's a small points you would like to take out of the general situation and to continue to press on them. It is the same in the newspapers, absolutely, and the same on the television.
You see, that's very interesting, sir, because the Russian people potentially have an excuse for not wanting to see the evidence and see the truth. They're fed propaganda. The vast majority are fed propaganda. A free journalist working in Russia would, unfortunately, unfortunately, could well be sent to jail for 15 years if they say that this is a war,
Clive,
say that
tell
this
me
is
please,
a limited
where
military
are now
operation rather than a
Russian
war.
journalists? Why you prohibited the television stations like Sputnik, Russian television? They are now prohibited from this space at all. Even the first channel second channel of the Russian television has been put under sanctions in the UK. So you do not, London, not you, perhaps not, you're a journalist, London do not allow any alternative version at all. You do not want to listen and to hear. As your representatives in the international organizations, they are now not to hear the Russian diplomats. They are running out of the halls.
We've been trying to work out what the story is, both sides of the argument. I've been to Ukraine 3 times. I've reported on the story.
You have been
And
only for 2 weeks so in Kiev.
You have been here, and you have no excuse because you have access to the world's media and how the whole of the rest of the world is reporting this story, and not just the propaganda.
What I would suggest, because we are talking with you for about half an hour, it is quite long. I'm not sure what will remain during the footage on Sunday. But I would advise you very much, because we are making now press tour to Donbas republics, to see the other side of the medal. And press tour to Mariupol, by the way, it was recently, I'm not sure when, but I think it's a couple of weeks ago. Go over there, talk to people not only over there, but also in Melitopol, those who were living under these conditions, those who have seen this Azov battalion and what they are really doing and who are them, how they are, what is the reputation of them, Donbas battalion, Azov battalion, all the others. You will see it with your own eyes.
So I'm still trying to
Sitting
understand.
just for 2 weeks in Kiev will not give, sitting for 2 weeks in Kiev will not give you an opportunity to have.
Could I just interject an idea here? I've been in Donbas, and I've been around the country. And
which side of the
when was the last
line?
time when was the last time you were in Ukraine, sir?
Really, what?
When was the last time you were in Ukraine?
I was in Kiev during the Maidan revolution over there.
So we're going back quite a few years. I was there in the last three months, and I've been there since the beginning of the war.
You
And
were-
what I'm trying to understand, sir, is why you are reluctant to acknowledge the facts on the ground. I don't understand. I absolutely don't understand.
Facts
afraid.
on the ground should be accepted. About 8 years of shelling of Donbass and killing civilian people over there, which has triggered an operation which is going on now. Okay, good.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. Thank you very much indeed.